Hi, everyone. So I'm Alex Scofie. I am working on the campaign for Gina Gerszberg, Artie Walzer, and Denise Belcher. For all of you who don't know, we have a really important town council election coming up in Teaneck. It's a little lesser well known because it's not at the same time as a lot of other bigger elections, but it's just as important. I'm sure all of you are curious how it's going to work out because of the coronavirus. All the ballots will be mail-in. So that means they'll be right to your house. You can send it back. You don't need a stamp. And we're hoping you'll vote for lines 1, 2, and 3. That will be Gina Gerszberg, who I have with me today, Artie Walzer, and Denise Belcher.
Okay.
So your platform, as I work with you on it, is equity, inclusion, affordability, and quality of life. So why don't we maybe start with equity? Do you want to tell us what
Sure.
that means?
So equity is really setting the town up so that in the future we don't have the kind of debt that we're currently experiencing. We need to be a little smarter about how we're developing the town so that we create more ways to gain revenue. If you look at the budget, I mean, it's just kind of simple to understand. There's a lot of things that we have to pay for, and then we have to have ways of getting money in. It's like anybody's household, right? So if you constantly overspend and you have to borrow money against the things that you're spending money on, then you build up debt,
Right.
which we have done currently as a town. So we need to really examine that and find ways to start to pay that down so that we're not handing that on to future generations.
Right. Okay. And so inclusion, what does that mean for you guys running?
Well, I have to say, being part of the Teaneck Democratic Municipal Committee has been a wonderful experience because we have members from all 23 districts in Teaneck, and there are people of every background, all walks of life, all different types of careers, and we come together and we discuss what's happening around town and how it impacts all of us in different ways and what all of our different points of views are about these issues. And there's we have conservative people, there's progressive people, and everything in between. And I think that we have a lot of different committees in this town that can work together and find ways to include the community in a lot of the decision making in the town. I actually recently read this book that honestly should be part of like the Teaneck High School reading material, and it's Triumph in White Suburbia. Can you see that? Okay.
I think I actually have looked. I don't know if I don't think I've read it, but I've seen it. And I thought it was
so
really
it's amazing. And as far back as the 50s, they talk about creating this human resource board to get all the groups of town together. And what we really need to see on these boards also is representation from all parts of town. A lot of these boards are kind of stocked with hand-picked people from the council. And we don't really need boards that are just saying yes to everything the council wants. We need all different ideas and opposing opinions, because that's how you come out with something that's going to be really beneficial to a majority of the people.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing Denise mention at one point that she was on one of the boards, and when she questioned it, she said they were like, "Why are you questioning it?" And she was like,
Right.
"Shouldn't that be our jobs?" So
That's
anyway,
our job. That exactly. Yeah. And even on the council, even though Denise, Artie, and myself are running together, we're not one mind. I mean, we have different opinions about things, and we know a lot of different people in town, so we're getting our ideas from different groups of people, different neighborhoods, different, all kinds of different backgrounds.
Right. Okay. So the next one would be affordability. So what does that mean on your platform?
Okay, so a lot of the housing that's being built right now, which is being deemed as some parts of it are affordable housing. But because we take HUD money to build these projects, it's very difficult to get Teaneck residents in there because they're open.
What is HUD for people who may not know?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the That's a housing and urban development. It's
Okay.
a Department of Housing and Urban Development. It is a government-funded organization, and and this is all statewide. They are asking every single town to build affordable housing
Hmm.
so that we have a certain percentage of everything that's built set aside for people with certain income levels. But when you build housing using funds from the government, then you have to open up these apartments to seven counties within our region.
Okay.
So it's hard to get Teaneck people in. But there are other ways that we can develop. It doesn't all have to be HUD housing, and it doesn't all have to be rentals. Right now, every single thing that we're putting up in town are rental properties. There are reasons for that, because we are not really seeking developers that want to do different types of housing, and it's kind of multi-layered. For developers that want to do housing that's just rentals, then they get a certain type of a loan where it's kind of like the same type of a loan that you or I would get. It's just a mortgage on the property, and then as they just pay that down. It doesn't matter what's rented or not rented. It's just they're paying a mortgage.
Okay.
But if we put up condos, a developer that gets a mortgage for a condo, it's a little bit of a different platform, so it's more of a risk to that developer. So they have to start paying that mortgage off as soon as they start selling these condos, and they have a certain amount of time to do that.
Okay.
It's like it's time stamped so that it's a little bit more restrictive, and it's a bigger risk.
So
Now,
specifically, oh, sorry, did you?
but there are in-betweens with that. You can also put up projects as rentals and then turn a certain amount of those housing units to condos. And depending, you have to have a certain ratio of rentals to things to purchase in order for the people that are purchasing to be able to get a mortgage. It's complicated. I don't even know if
Okay.
you want to even talk
Right.
about this, but just to simplify it, right now, the only properties that we're putting up in town are rentals.
Okay.
So we're not really developing properties for people to own, which means that we're going to have people that are buying into the town and are investing in this town. And they're also paying taxes to this town.
Okay.
It's a different tax rate for someone that owns an apartment building than someone like you or I who own a property, and we have to pay those taxes no
Hmm.
matter what, or a property gets taken away.
So maybe we can just get real
Yeah.
quick. So what are you looking for to do that would help make things affordable? Like what would be? You said there's a lot of different things that are happening. But what
Right.
would be the
So,
type you
right.
might look more toward?
Well, all right. Taxes are all over Bergen County are very, very high.
Mm-hmm.
So and I know that for years and years, towns have been looking at sharing services and all these different things that we can do on that realm. But as far as affordability goes, we need to build housing that people can own that is affordable,
Mm-hmm.
not just rentals, because people want to own things. There's a lot of
Right.
people that can't afford to live anymore in Queens. Brooklyn has been unaffordable for a long time, and now the Bronx is becoming unaffordable. And this, where we live, is a wonderful place for people that still have to commute to the city and want to have access. But we have to have properties that they can own. People are not looking to come out to New Jersey just to rent expensive apartments.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. Okay. It's just quality of life in general. What does that mean when you guys talk about that on your platform?
We have to maintain the open space that we have in town. We have to be careful about not developing that, and also maintaining it. I know that in Voti Park, for instance, they just put up that field house.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of other areas in the park that need a little bit of maintenance. The Rhoda Center, for instance, which they're currently working on,
Mm-hmm.
but that was not maintained for many, many years. And now it's actually costing more because they have to play catch up on a lot of that maintenance. And then the walking bridge that goes across Windsor Road and the railroad tracks to Voti Park is in terrible disrepair. They had to close it down years ago, and they had for like years, they couldn't even use it. And then they patched it up, but it has not held. And there's, I mean, I did a video recently where I was in all these different places in town. And after I published it, I actually had a couple of people that didn't live in town comment and say, wow, your town looks really run down. And I thought, oh, it kind of does. And you don't notice it because we're here all the time and we're passing by these things. It's like something in your house that you don't pick up for 3 weeks and you forget that it's there. But then when someone comes over, you're like, oh, let me get these shoes out of the way.
When I saw the one image in that video, and it's just a picture of, you've got that brand new whatever that
the field house, right?
And then literally in the same shot, like you don't have to turn the camera or anything. You've got the crumbling concrete on what you were talking about, that walkway.
Right.
And it didn't occur to me. I've been here for how many years, and I'm looking. I'm, oh my gosh, like why? I mean, it's good we're building new stuff, but what about the crumbling, right? Literally,
right. And there's wonderful things to maintain in this town. There are a lot of buildings that are already built that can either be reused or repurposed, even with housing. I mean, there's a lot of areas that we have that are commercial that can be also mixed use. So, and in today's lifestyle, people want walkability. They want to be able to leave their condo and come down and get a cup of coffee, or maybe buy a few groceries. Like, this is the type of things that people are looking for in the 21st century. Exactly, that would be mixed use, where you have commercial and residential. But again, the residential, we need to start building things that people can actually purchase.
Right. Yeah.
There's not that, I mean, rentals are needed. I'm not saying that they're not, but not in the amount that we're putting them up and as fast as we're putting them up. These buildings are not all rented.
And even the balance between, having
the balance between,
exactly. Like that's what is current.
And these apartments are very expensive. The one bedrooms over on the Palisade Avenue apartments are $2,000. So, for someone that's renting a one bedroom, which is most likely either a single or maybe a couple, you're talking about that they need an income of at least $6,000 a month to qualify for an apartment like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And no, I just talked to someone else, one of my friends, who said it wasn't him, but one of the friends he knew who grew up in Teaneck couldn't afford. They lived in Hackensack or something.
Right. So I'm not sure why that's being called affordable housing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really good information. Just I think the slogan you guys use, a people for progress, a new vision for Teaneck. So maybe we've kind of talked about it, but maybe you want to just restate what specifically that means for Teaneck?
Yeah, and ironically, the new vision for Teaneck is looking at a master plan, which we have, by the way, and it's actually a good one. It probably just needs to be tweaked, because master plans should be looked at every couple of years, just to make sure you're staying on track and up to current standards and what current needs are. In fact, the census that's going on right now, one of the things that we look at in census is for developers to look at the demographics of areas and decide what is needed there. Not what, this isn't for developers to come to Teaneck and decide what do the developers want to do. It's for the town and the developers to decide what is needed in this area. So, and I really think, and the master plan is, I should probably get it up on either the website or whatever for people to really look at what was proposed there. But when it's not being followed at all, there's nothing that's going on today that is staying within the guidelines of a master plan. And there's no sense in even having a master plan if you're not going to follow it.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.